So, first question this week was, do you engage your core when you're shooting? So, for me personally, I don't really think about my core when I'm shooting. I remember my first year in college, one of the first things that our strength coach said was, core is so important and so essential if you want to be an elite athlete. So, I do think having a strong core is important, but do I necessarily think about that when I'm shooting? No. I don't have time to think about engaging my core when I shoot. I just go ahead and shoot the shot and see if it goes in or not. So, no, I don't think about that when I'm shooting. Question number two, how come my shots go in at training but not in games? So, this could be a factor of many different things. So I think oftentimes we shoot better in training, or most of you shoot better in training because there's no pressure, right? So you shoot 10 shots from 10 spots, you make a majority of your shots, everything's flowing, everything's feeling good. But in the game now, you're probably starting to think more about that shot than you were when you were training. So one thing that could help you is to add pressure to your drills when you're shooting by yourself. So let's say you want to make 20 shots from one spot. Put a limit that you can't miss two in a row. So if you get to 18 and you miss two in a row before you get to 20, you have to start back at zero. Or if you don't want to start back at zero, let's say you want to make seven in a row from a spot. And if you don't make seven in a row, then you then you run it down and back. So now you're adding pressure to your drills. Another thing you could do is, let's say you want to make 15 shots from a spot and you get to 15, but in order to clear the spot, now you have to make two free throws in a row. And if you miss those two free throws in a row, you start back from zero. So do these little things to add pressure to your drills when you're by yourself. So in the game, you're not worried about the pressure. You're used to it because you've worked on pressure situations during your shooting. Question number three, how many shots do I shoot a day? So if you've been following me for a little bit, you know that in college, I made a decision for myself that I will make 250 three-pointers every single day, no matter what. That was just something that minimum I set my mind to, and I was gonna do that regardless of the situation. So just having that mentality helped me so much as a shooter because, yeah, there were some days where, you don't feel like shooting those shots. You're tired, you're sore, but I knew that I made a decision with myself that I was gonna do those 250 makes minimum a day, and that's what I set my target to. So I think it's important for you to set a small goal first, maybe make 50 three-pointers a day. See how that goes for a week, and then increase that over time. It's not necessarily about the quantity of reps. It is about the quality, but for me, I wanted to see if I could really lock in and do that and prove to myself that I can lock into those makes every single day. And I think that helped me overall in my shooting career. Question number four, how can I be confident? I think personally that confidence comes from the work that you put in. So in order to be confident, you have to work by yourself when no one's watching you, when those lights are off. So come game time, you know deep down in your core that you deserve to play well because you put the time and the effort and the blood and the sweat to get the job done. So confidence comes from the work you put in. You can't be confident if you don't put that work in. So that's just something simple that you can do to be confident in yourself. Show up every day for yourself, work on your craft, get in the weight room, put up your shots, and you'll be confident over time. Question number five, what would you say coaches look for in players at tryouts? So I'll tell you three things that coaches look for at players in tryouts. Number one, they want to make sure that you compete and that you have your efforts at the highest level. They might not necessarily care about you making shots or missing shots, but they want to see, can you compete? Is your effort there before anything else? So I know a lot of you think that coaches want to see you drop 30, drop 40. That's not necessarily the case. They want guys that compete every single possession. And number two, they want to have guys that show up early to the tryout, right? So if you're showing up 5 minutes before the tryout starts or 1 minute before the tryout starts, Coaches look at everything, and that's probably not going to be a good look for you as a player. You want to make sure you're the first person there, stretching, getting up some shots before the tryout. You want to do everything you can to stand out and not necessarily blend in by doing those little things, not standing out by shooting every single shot, but you show up early, you compete, you show effort on every possession. So those are two things. And the last thing I'll say is communication, especially on defense. If you can be the loudest communicator when you're on defense, coaches will notice that. Coaches have a hard time getting their players to talk, especially on the defensive end. So if you want to stand out and you want the coaches to go into the locker room after and talk about the players, I guarantee you, if you are the loudest person on defense, your name will get brought up and you have a higher chance of making the team. So these are the 5 questions that I thought were the best of the week. Come back next week and I'll have more questions for y'all.